Now look at Part 1.
Part 1.
You will hear two women talking about house cleaning. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 3. Listen carefully to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 1 to 3.
Well, Jill, I'm glad you had a nice holiday. We'll have to try it ourselves sometime.
Yes, Kate, you really should. I'll give you a contact number for the hotel we stayed in. Anyway, I must be...
Oh, I know what I meant to ask you. Sorry, it was about a cleaner.
Oh, yes?
Yes, we've been talking about getting somebody to come in and help out. You had a cleaner not long ago, didn't you?
I thought you said having a cleaner was a waste of money, that you'd never pay somebody to do what you can do perfectly well yourself.
Well, yes, maybe, but things have changed. Things are really hectic for Greg at work all of a sudden. He's never home till after 8. I end up doing everything. The house looks like such a mess. I never get time to tidy up before I go out to work, and in the evenings I just about manage to cook and wash up.
Well, you shouldn't be the one doing everything if you're working as well. That's not fair, is it?
I think Greg's just shattered. Oh, to be fair, he's pretty domesticated. We've always pretty much shared the chores. It's just a temporary thing, I think. I hope. We're basically both trying to juggle too much. The last thing we want to do at the weekends is start cleaning. We want to relax a bit.
It's not because all the neighbours have got a cleaner, is it?
You know me too well. I guess there is a bit of that. I feel like the poor relation when I tell them I do all the cleaning myself. They can't believe I fit in so much.
Never worry about what other people think.
No. Anyway, one way or another we need a cleaner. Well, as long as it's not too expensive, that is.
I don't think it's expensive, and it's money well spent. We only stopped having Tricia come in every week because I was off work with the baby, so I could do most of it myself.
So how much is it?
Well, Tricia was £8 an hour. I can't say that's what everyone charges.
That isn't bad, is it? It's less than I thought. Oh, well, I think we can run to £8. How many hours did she do?
4 hours a week.
Well, that sounds about right. Can you give me her number then?
Oh, sorry, no. She's not around anymore. She went back to Wales. I think it was Wales anyway, a couple of months ago.
Oh, no. That's a shame.
Wait a minute, though. We've had some leaflets through the door recently. Let me see if I can find one. I put one here by the phone, I'm sure.
You now have some time to look at questions 4 to 10. Now listen to the rest of the conversation and answer questions 4 to 10.
Ah, yes, here we are. It's a company. They're called Dusters.
Dusters?
Yes, as in people who dust. You have to phone Abby on...
Is that Abby with EY?
No, it's ABBY.
OK.
And it's a local number, 650-918.
650-918. OK, got it.
They do ironing and can look after your garden too, apparently.
Ironing would be helpful. I loathe ironing. So, do they say how much it is?
Yes, it's $9.50 an hour. That's for all the different services.
$9.50? A bit more expensive then.
They do a spring clean for £45.
So that's one big clean. Do they say how many hours that is?
No, it just says spring clean. I guess it's 5 hours, so it's a bit cheaper than 5 hours of cleaning would be normally.
Yes, probably. That might be a good idea to start off with.
You'll like this too, Kate. They can use organic products if you want them to.
Oh, yes, I'd prefer that. I don't like using strong chemicals. They're so bad for the environment. OK, I'll give them a call. Thanks for that.
That is the end of part 1.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 2. Section 2. You hear a club leader giving information to a group of young people who are planning to do a 2-week holiday course at the Tamerton Centre. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen and answer questions 11 to 15.
Hello, everyone. I've been asked to talk to you this afternoon about next month's trip to Tamerton Study Center for the 2-week course. Now, some of the things I'm going to say you may have already heard or read about, but I think it's important to emphasize a few key points. First of all, it's worth reminding you why Tamerton was set up in the first place, in the late 1960s. That was really before all the concern with preserving the environment, which everyone talks about these days. The idea was simply to get people out of the cities and into the country, and to find out that just being outdoors can be very rewarding. This is not going to be a holiday in the usual sense. It's called an adventure course because you'll really be stretched to your limits, but that in itself can be a positive thing. The group I took last year, for example, said that although they actually felt pretty weak and exhausted all the time, it really made them learn a lot about themselves and increased their confidence. And in the end, that's the most important thing. Now, all of you knew about policies at Tamerton before you signed up for it, so you know that in many ways it's quite old-fashioned. You don't have a lot of choice in what you do. But something which I think makes the place so special is that you get to try so many different things every day. For instance, one day you'll do climbing, and the next you'll be surveying rock pools. It's not intended that you become an expert in any of them. It's more like a taster, which you can follow up if you want. and there isn't a lot of free time. Organized activities and talks, etc., go on until 9 p.m., and lights go out at 11 p.m. There are table tennis tables with all the equipment and board games, though I have to say the pieces often go missing, so it's a good idea to take your own. There's a DVD player with a good selection of films suitable for this age group, so don't take yours. Bedtime at 11 p.m. is strictly enforced, and there's a good reason for this. You are all under 18, and we organizers need to know that all group members are accounted for in the house as we close for the night. And of course, you'll be so exhausted anyway that you'll be too sleepy to want to cause any trouble.
Now you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, what should you pack? The information sheet tells you a lot about what clothing to bring, but what about other things? Well, Tamerton House has its own small shop, but anything is several miles away, so you won't have many opportunities for buying supplies. So in this last part of my talk, I'm going to explain what objects you should take with you to the center, what you can take if you want, and also, very importantly, what you cannot take. Several of you came up to me before this talk and asked whether you can take things like kettles or hair dryers. The answer is there are plenty of these electrical appliances available in the center, and they are of the proper voltage and are checked regularly. Yours may not be, so the rules at Tamerton say you can't bring them into the center because it's considered a fire risk. Remember, it's a very old house. Now, another question was about cell phones. Although you definitely can't have them on during inside talks, you equally definitely need them when you're out on exercises. So they're a must, I'm afraid. Anybody who wishes to talk to me about borrowing a phone for the fortnight, please see me after this talk. Now, the weather's heating up at the moment, and you'll be outdoors a great deal. If you wear proper clothing, especially a hat, sun cream is optional. Also, they sell high-factor cream in the shop, so you don't have to take any of your own unless there's a special kind you use. Now, there's a special note about things like deodorants, which come in aerosol cans. I need to tell you that these are banned in the center, because apparently they have the habit of setting off the fire alarms. If you want to take an aerosol can, you'll actually be at risk of being told to leave. And finally, people have been asking about whether they need to take towels. Well, the center does provide 1 towel per guest, which you're required to wash yourself. If you're happy with that, then don't bring another. If not, take one of your own. Just remember how much outdoor exercise you'll be doing and how dirty and wet you'll be getting.
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turns to part 3.
Part 3.
You will hear 2 students and a tutor discussing their plans for next year. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Listen carefully to the first part of the conversation and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hi Mark, how's it going?
Oh, hi Lily. I'm okay. Have you decided what course you're going to apply for then?
Yes, illustration. I've already applied to one college actually.
I didn't even know there were places that did just illustration.
There aren't many. Most combine it with other areas like painting and graphic art. Unfortunately, there are no courses in London, so I've opted for Birmingham.
Birmingham? I'm not sure I'd want to study there.
Well, from what I've heard, you're thinking of not studying anywhere, Mark.
Look, I haven't made any decisions yet, but I'm wondering what the point of carrying on at art school really is. I mean, why not just get a studio and paint?
Aren't you enjoying art school now then?
Yes, I am, but this is a foundation course, isn't it? I wanted to try out all the different areas. You know, sculpture, computer graphics, a bit of everything. Now I know that I really just want to paint though, I may as well get a studio and do it.
There's nothing more for you to learn then.
I didn't say that.
This isn't all about a fear of being rejected, is it? I mean, I know you hate applications and interviews and so on. You're not looking for a way out of all that, are you?
No, of course not. I'm no more scared of rejection than anyone else. I mean, people not buying your work, that's real rejection, isn't it?
Now you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen to the next part of the conversation and answer questions 25 to 30.
Hi, do you mind if I join you?
We were talking about next year and applying for courses.
I couldn't help overhearing. What's this all about then, Mark? Is it true that you're thinking of not continuing at college?
I'm looking at other options, yes. I've been reading about artists who claim there's no real advantage in learning formally. There's this Scottish guy who just went to Paris and got a studio. He's doing really well now. In fact, one of the fine art students here dropped out of her course at the end of the first year and just went to Prague. She loves it there.
You might just be looking through rose-tinted spectacles there, Mark. There are plenty of people who regret taking that route, you know. For every artist making a living, there are 20 living on the breadline.
Okay, I take your point, but I'm thinking about the cost of 3 years at art school as well. Apart from the actual fees, there are all the living expenses. Students are running up at least £30,000 debt by the end of their course.
So, this studio you're planning to get, I take it that'll be free then? If you're contemplating working in Paris or Prague, won't that cost practically the same over 3 years?
Maybe, but I'd be selling my paintings, wouldn't I?
In fairness, Mark, very few artists start selling work just like that.
Yes, but will studying for another 3 years mean that I will definitely be able to sell my work?
It won't guarantee it, but it'll make it more likely. In my opinion, anyway.
Remember that there are plenty of artists who make their name while they're studying. Art schools put on end-of-year exhibitions, and influential people regularly come in looking for talent. Your work is showcased in a way that just won't happen if you're working in isolation.
Yes, I do see all that. I'm just not convinced. I sometimes question the value of a creative course, full stop. I mean, I often feel almost guilty when I tell people that I'm studying art. I see this look on their face as though they think I should be doing something more useful. I feel that if I get a studio and start working, at least I'd be paying my way.
I think the key factor here is that being at art school exposes you to critical appraisal. Perhaps the most essential function of further education is the constant feedback and constructive criticism. It's essential to personal development, no matter what the field is.
Yes, we all know artists who paint as a hobby. People who have been doing it for years. They think they're experts and wonder why other people haven't recognised their talents. If only they'd become part of a creative community, they'd understand why that hasn't happened.
Yes, I think Lily's right. It's important to keep developing and responding to feedback. Anyway, don't go making any rash decisions. But come and see me.
That is the end of part 3.
You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear a woman giving a talk at a popular science convention. She is describing research into artificial gills designed to enable humans to breathe underwater. Now you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen and answer questions 31 to 40.
In my talk today, I'll be exploring the idea of artificial gills. I'll start by introducing the concept, giving some background and so forth, and then I'll go on to explain the technological applications, including a short, very simple experiment I conducted. Starting with the background. As everyone knows, all living creatures need oxygen to live. Mammals take in oxygen from the atmosphere by using their lungs, and fishes take oxygen from water by means of their gills, which of course in most fishes are located either side of their head. But human beings have always dreamt of being able to swim underwater like the fishes, breathing without the help of oxygen tanks. I don't know whether any of you have done any scuba diving, but it's a real pain having to use all that equipment. You need special training, and it's generally agreed that tanks are too heavy and big to enable most people to move and work comfortably underwater. So scientists are trying a different tack. Rather than humans carrying an oxygen supply as they go underwater, wouldn't it be possible to extract oxygen in situ, that is, directly from the water while swimming? In the 1960s, the famous underwater explorer Jacques Cousteau, for example, predicted that one day surgery could be used to equip humans with gills. He believed our lungs could be bypassed and we would learn to live underwater just as naturally as we live on land. But of course, most of us would prefer not to go to such extremes.
I've been looking at some fairly simple technologies developed to extract oxygen from water, ways to produce a simple, practical artificial gill, enabling humans to live and breathe in water without harm. Now, how scientists and inventors went about this was to look at the way different animals handled this. Fairly obviously, they looked at the way fishes breathe, but also how they move down and float up to the surface using inflatable sacs called swim bladders. Scientists also looked at animals without gills, which use bubbles of air underwater, notably beetles. These insects contrive to stay underwater for long periods by breathing from this bubble, which they hold under their wing cases. By looking at these animal adaptations, inventors began to come up with their own artificial gills. Now, making a crude gill is actually rather easy, more straightforward. You take a watertight box, which is made of a material which is permeable to gas, that is, it allows it to pass through inwards and outwards. You then fill this with air, fix it to the diver's face, and go down underwater. But a crucial factor is that the diver has to keep the water moving, so that water high in oxygen is always in contact with the gill, so he can't really stay still. And to maximize this contact, it's necessary for your gill to have a big surface area. Different gill designers have addressed this problem in different ways, but many choose to use a network or lattice arrangement of tiny tubes as part of their artificial gills. Then the diver is able to breathe in and out. Oxygen from the water passes through the outer walls of the gill, and carbon dioxide is expelled. In a nutshell, that's how the artificial gill works. So, having read about these simple gill mechanisms, I decided to create my own. I followed the procedure I've just described, and it worked pretty well when I tried it out in the swimming pool. I lasted underwater for nearly 40 minutes. However, I've read about other people breathing through their gill for several hours. So the basic idea works well, but the real limitation is that these simple gills don't work as the diver descends to any great depth because the pressure builds and a whole different set of problems are caused by that. Research is being done into how these problems might be overcome, but that's another story, which has to be a subject of another talk. Despite this serious limitation, many people have high hopes for the artificial gill, and they think it might have applications beyond simply enabling an individual to stay underwater for a length of time. For example, the same technology might be used to provide oxygen for submarines, enabling them to stay submerged for months on end without resorting to potentially dangerous technologies such as nuclear power. Another idea is to use oxygen derived from the water as energy for fuel cells. These could power machinery underwater, such as robotic devices. So, in my view, this is an area of technology with great potential. Now, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yes, lady at the back.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.